2023 NFL Draft coverage on Keon Sports is brought to you by Hinckley Roofing. Founder of Hinckley Roofing, Steve Walkuski Sr., with years of roofing experience, moved to Hinckley, Ohio in 1958, the home of the Buzzards. Steve is looking to build a company driven on service, quality, and integrity. Hinckley Roofing is a family-owned and operated business serving the northern Ohio area since 1958. Mention Keon Sports when you call for a 10% discount. Got you covered Medina, with everything from blinds, custom bedding, and shutters to shades and drapery. They have it all. Check them out online at www.gotchacovered.com/Medina or call them at 330-446-3647. That's 330-446-3647. TNT Construction. TNT Construction is a private family-owned construction company located in Berea. TNT provides residential and commercial remodeling, construction, and building services to clients in Cleveland and all of Northeast Ohio. Pulp North Olmsted. Hey North Olmsted Eagles fans, former NFL player and Eagle alumni Matt Rothram wants to see you at Pulp North Olmsted. This delicious and healthy meal phenomena is exactly what North Olmsted needed. From wraps to bowls to smoothies and everything in between, this is the perfect healthy option for the person on the go. Stop in and taste for yourself at 27650 Lorraine Road in North Olmsted. The store is at the corner of Porter and Lorraine, right around the block from North Olmsted High School. Stop in before the game this week. And JBL Roofing and Construction. JBL was founded by the Lewis family of Kent, Ohio in 2005 to provide residents with a reliable, professional, and high-quality level of service. Fast forward to today, JBL Roofing and Construction has become one of Northeast Ohio's most trusted roofing and siding companies, performing the highest quality of work on over 3,000 roofs and projects. They say time flies when you're having fun, and I have been having a blast unveiling my prospect rankings here for 2023 in the NFL Draft. Once again here on the Keon Sports YouTube channel, of course putting those articles out as well, with all those rankings up to the top 3, and then putting out this video. Like I said, you see that on KeonSports.com as well. Myself, Cole McDaniel, and can't thank you guys enough for watching and listening to these videos each and every single day over the course of the last 11 days. Can't believe we're already to the end of these prospect rankings, and it's time to talk about the quarterbacks right now. And I've got a surprise at number 3. If you did not read the article and you came directly to YouTube because you had subscribed already and had the notifications on and came to this video, thank you for doing that. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. But everybody who read the article, you know at this point that Anthony Richardson is not in my top 3. Actually, falls a little bit later. He's my number 7 prospect. Will Levis, not in my top 3. He's my number 6 prospect. I have concerns with both of those players. There's a lot of hype because of their physical ability, especially around Richardson with what he did at the Combine and his freak athleticism. But I have too many concerns with those guys and what they can do at the next level, and I think there's too much overhype around them. The potential is there for them to become elite players. They are worth the chance, but at the right time. I personally would not be willing to take a risk on them in the top 10, maybe even inside the top 20. But, of course, I am not in one of those draft rooms there for a team. It is up to them on making the decision with what they're comfortable on. But I think if Levis and Richardson get put on the field too early, which I expect will happen, it could result in problems in much shorter careers than what they could have based on the skill sets that they have. At number 3 here in my prospect rankings, as I jump to this right now, a guy that I'm not nearly as concerned about, and I think he needs his respect after what he did this past season. Max Duggan of TCU gets into my top 3. Duggan is a talented and gutsy player with surprising athleticism, I mean, he has speed in open field. He ran a 4.5 at the combine. He needs that due respect that he has not really been getting since the college football playoffs. He was a Heisman Trophy finalist this past season after an incredible 2022 year. He put a lot of good things on tape over the past year. Not only does Duggan do a great job of standing in the pocket, but he also has the ability to run quite well with that surprising speed like I talked about. He's really a borderline dual threat quarterback. Also in the pocket, I'm impressed with his ability to stand in against pressure and deliver the football even while knowing he's still going to take a big hit. His mechanics are pretty solid, and he throws a fairly accurate ball. Now, Duggan does have average arm strength compared to Richardson and Levis and Stroud and some of those other quarterback prospects in this class. He doesn't have the same zip on his passes, and occasionally it does result in some floated passes, but his taller receivers this past season ended up bailing him out many times in those situations. If he can add some more strength and some velocity this offseason, that would be massive for his game. If Duggan lands with a team willing to also run some read option plays, then I think he will be set for future success as a short-term backup with the potential to become a starter. Again, not a guy who's going to be ready to jump in right away as a starter, but if he gets a little bit of time to develop, Duggan might actually be a long-term starter in the NFL. My player comparison for him, his arm movement and launch angle is very similar to Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, I'm not going to say he's on the level of Aaron Rodgers. That would be foolish at this point. But he does have that similar arm movement and launch angle. And then I think his ability and his style, there's a little bit of Ryan Tannehill in him, could be one of those middle ground average starting quarterbacks in the league come down the road in the future if we look back at this in 3-4 years. But I think the way the game is shaping right now in the NFL, Duggan fits the current NFL quarterback style. He's probably going to go somewhere between the 4th and the 6th round. Again, despite being my number 3 prospect, I'm not going to say he's going to be a first round or a second round guy or anything like that. I think he's going to be middle to late round, probably more on the earlier side of day 3, but he could certainly wait all the way until the 6th round, depending upon how a team values him or how most of the NFL values him. I think there's some good fits out there, and that's the New York Giants. If he can be the backup for Daniel Jones, an offense where I think Jones has the ability to run a little bit of read option, that might be one of the best fits for him. Tampa Bay might be an option. The only problem there is there's the whole Baker Mayfield, Kyle Trask battle. If you throw Duggan in the mix, I could honestly see Duggan actually beating out both of those guys. And I don't think it's best for him to end up on the field immediately. I'd be surprised if that's good for his development in the long run. And I think Tampa actually might still be one of those teams possibly in the tank for Caleb Williams conversation. Again, that's a conversation for another day. The Washington Commanders, now that might actually be another decent fit. They might want to give Sam Howell an opportunity. They brought in Jacoby Brissett. Brissett, after what he did with Cleveland, even though it would keep the offense a little bit limited in what they can do with their playbook, he might deserve the opportunity to be a starter. Duggan, if he goes into Washington, though, I think he could compete with both of those guys and maybe after a while end up winning that job. Again, it's not quite as good of a fit schematically, but maybe Ron Rivera and his team would develop something around the running ability that Duggan has. And my wild card is Tennessee. Like I said, similar to Ryan Tannehill in many ways. Willis does not appear to be the guy. Wasn't impressed with what Malik Willis did when he came in last season. I think he would actually be a better future player for Tennessee than what Willis would be. And if he can learn from Tannehill for a year or so, maybe even 2 years, that would be good for his development. No more surprises from here on out in these quarterback rankings. We know who the top two are. It's a matter of who is number 2 and who's number 1. As I turn to number 2, that's Bryce Young of Alabama. He's a very smart quarterback with incredible instincts and what feels like eyes in the back of his helmet. I don't know how he escapes some of the things he escapes getting out of the pocket. He's just an escape artist in addition to being a typically very accurate quarterback. Young is not quite as precise as Stroud, but I don't think he's a slouch when it comes to his touch on the football and where he can place it. He does well at going through his progressions and can also deliver the football using different arm angles or on the run. Young is a small quarterback with average arm strength, and he sometimes underthrows deep balls, resulting in his receivers needing to either slow down or come back to the football. Now, sometimes I'm not sure if that actually has to do with arm strength or if Young is maybe overthinking those situations and trying to be too precise on his passes. Regardless, it hasn't been a major issue at Alabama. It didn't cost them, but I would like to see him put it out there, put the football out there, and that be more consistent where he doesn't need his receivers to slow down or come back to the football. He can put on the money on those deep throws. Young might not have been successful 10 years ago in the NFL, but I've talked about how the NFL landscape has changed with different position groups, and he fits really well in the current NFL playing like Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts, guys like that who can use their running ability in addition to using their arm. So Young has the ability to become a franchise quarterback very quickly. He's a guy who, I have no question that even behind a weaker offensive line that's still developing, he can extend plays with his legs and give his team a chance to win. So I think there's not too many teams that are quarterback needy that he wouldn't actually be a fit with. I think that especially those teams that are still working on their offensive line, Young might be an ideal candidate for them. My player comparisons, Johnny Manziel with the running ability and his size, and then his play style and his ability, Jalen Hurts. I think those are two good combinations, two good comparisons for him. Obviously, Manziel didn't have the same success in the league and was out pretty quickly, but that athleticism is something nice to be compared to when your game is like Jalen Hurts, who had a really good season last year. My projection for Young, he's going to be a top 10 prospect, top 10 selection for sure. Just a matter of who ends up selecting him. Best fits for him, Houston. And Houston's actually developing their offensive line a little bit. They just don't have a ton of receiver weapons. The receiving weapons could continue to get better. They have 2 first-round picks. Maybe they go quarterback and wide receiver. That would help out whoever they select. Houston might not be a bad spot for Young. Las Vegas might be a decent fit. I think their line is still improving, but they have great weapons in Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow, as well as Jacoby Myers. Carolina would be a good fit for him there. I think when they traded up to number 1, Bryce Young has to be in the consideration, even though I'm starting to think that Richardson might be the one that they moved up for because it happened right after that combine, and Richardson really impressing. That being said, Young would help Carolina for the future. And my wild card's Baltimore. If Lamar Jackson ends up somewhere else other than Baltimore, he would really fit in well with the Ravens system. They wouldn't have to change much from what they did with Lamar Jackson with Bryce Young under center. It's just a matter of could Baltimore find a way to get up to snag him. I don't think it's that possible, but he might be a really good fit there if Lamar Jackson no longer is a Baltimore Raven in the future. And at number 1, C.J. Stroud of Ohio State. So Stroud was actually my top quarterback prospect early in 2022 and actually slightly pulled away throughout the season, especially in the latter stages of the year. His performance versus Georgia really elevated his stock even higher because he was excellent in that semifinal and nearly led the Buckeyes to an upset over the defending national champions in Georgia. Stroud has top-notch footwork in the pocket. He's good arm strength and elite accuracy. Honestly, Stroud's ball placement is actually better than probably about half of the current NFL starters at this moment right now. He's a good but not great athlete who can scramble when needed, but he won't base his game around running. He ran more against Georgia, but throughout the season he wanted to stay in the pocket. He prefers to be a pocket quarterback. If granted time in the pocket, Stroud will pick apart a defense. He throws a beautiful ball at every level of the field, and in addition to ideal size as a quarterback, he has the mentality to remain calm and composed to the next level. He doesn't throw many interceptions, and Stroud is also not afraid to throw the ball away. Just live to see another day, get to the next play. Sometimes I would like to see Stroud have more of a killer instinct. I think at times he seems to be almost too calm. I know he's competitive, but at the same time it almost seems a little bit lethargic. I'd like as a leader to see him sometimes be more vocal. I think he has that leadership ability, but I think in the NFL he will probably have to be a little bit more vocal than what he is now. I think that Bryce Young could have a little bit more success actually behind a weaker offensive line than Stroud just because of the escape artist ability. I think Stroud's offensive line needs to be a little bit more put together in order for him to have the best success because like I said, if he has time in the pocket, he's going to be really, really good. Has the athleticism to escape, but again, that's not what his game should be predicated around. If he's around a great offensive line, he's going to be a great quarterback. And for all the Ohio State fans out there, and I know we have plenty here in Northeast Ohio that'll be watching and listening to this, as well as Justin Fields is playing, CJ Stroud could, and I expect will be even better in the league. My player comparisons. His mechanics remind me a lot of Jared Goff, and Jared Goff, no slouch when it comes to his mechanics. I think he's pretty clinical, pretty cleaned up when it comes to that side of things. Now, I think Stroud could certainly be at the Dak Prescott level, where Prescott gets into that top 10 conversation, kind of sneaks in there. Stroud could surpass that and do that pretty quickly in his time in the NFL. My projection for him, he's going to be a top 10 selection. Now, I have no clue whether it's going to be 1, 2, or even farther down because of some of the other prospects around him as well. But here are my fits for him. I think he fits really well with the Indianapolis Colts, especially if they touch up on the offensive line a little bit more and they perform better than they did last season. Putting him in a dome, I think he's going to be really good if he's in a dome or in warm weather, not needing to deal with the cold where he can just air it out. That's going to really add to his ability as a passer where that's just really going to help him out with his skill set. So the dome there in Indianapolis would be huge. Las Vegas, another situation where he would have the pass catchers. I think their offensive line is maybe still on the weaker side. They really would need to clean that up, I think, for Stroud to have a ton of success and have time. But if they could do that, obviously, like I said, those weapons there, Adams, Renfro, Myers, Stroud would have a heyday at least with those weapons. Houston, their offensive line, piecing together nicely. Laramie Tunsil, now the highest paid offensive tackle in the league as he got extended. Shaq Mason was brought in from Tampa Bay to be the right guard. So I think things are happening there. Of course, Kenyon Green was drafted last year for Houston, where the offensive line is getting shored up. They just, on the flip side, reverse from Las Vegas, don't have the weapons on the outside quite yet. They need to continue to add there, but Houston maybe would be an okay fit there. My wild card would be Detroit. I don't think it's going to happen, but Detroit would be my favorite fit for CJ Stroud. All the offensive weapons they have, the good offensive line, the defense they're piecing together. The Lions, if they traded away Jared Goff and selected CJ Stroud, I think that would go a long way for that team, and I would love to see the Lions and the Bears possibly compete at the top of the NFC North as the division continues to flip on its head. As through free agency, it looks like both of those teams have done a really nice job, and I think things are trending the direction of those two teams. If Stroud ended up on the Detroit Lions, The Bears and the Lions would have such a fun rivalry, and Ohio State fans would love that. Well, that wraps everything up for the prospect rankings for 2023 at each and every single position. Again, like I said, 11 days in a row of these videos coming out, these articles coming out, and everybody out there who have watched and listened and read through the articles. Again, I appreciate you. Thank you for doing so. Of course, I plan to do the same thing again next year. Draft season is one of, if not the very best seasons. After this video, again, a reminder that the full prospect rankings, the whole big board, will all be pieced together, where they're all together. And again, over 200 prospects will be on that list. That's the big board that I'm going to be using when we do the live draft show here on the Keon Sports YouTube channel, the last Thursday and Friday of the month of April. So make sure to pay attention to that. If not one mock draft, I may even come out with 2 mock drafts before that draft show actually happens over the next couple of weeks. So make sure to pay attention to that, as that will be on the website keonsports.com. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. A lot more content will continue to come out on the YouTube channel here in the future, but make sure to be prepared for the live draft show coming up before too long. For myself, Cole McDaniel, it's been a great time here going over and unveiling the 2023 prospect rankings.